So let's give it up for our spotlight speaker today, Janet Kelly of Sanctuary of Hope.
Hey. Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. I was trying to think of what to say, but I woke up this morning. When I wake up every morning, I listen to gospel, so it kind of helps get me grounded and rooted in my day. But I keep hearing this song over and over again in my head, so I got to figure out what the meaning of it is and its purpose. But it's the song by John P. Key. I keep wondering how I keep going, and he's always on time and things like that. So it's probably all centered around a lot of stuff that's happening with me in Sanctuary of Hope. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is Janet Kelly. I am the executive director and founder of Sanctuary of Hope. And what we do is we are a youth development and human service organization, as well as a leadership and community engagement organization that works with young people between the ages of 16 and 25 who are either child welfare or justice impacted, housing, or economic insecure. We don't use the term homeless, one, because young people don't like the word, neither do I. We work with expectant and parenting youth. And the reason why we use the word expectant instead of pregnant, right, is because we want to be inclusive of fathers as well as young people who may not identify with a certain gender or sex. So it's more inclusive. We work with trafficking and domestic survivors. Right? So we don't use the word victim, but we focus on words that are very positive, such as survivors. And then young people who are low income. And I just say a variety of young people who, when they may find themselves in a crisis, they can show up at our door and know that they're welcomed, right? A lot of our work is really centered around being culturally affirming, right? But it's also around how do we uplift young people by creating warm, welcoming spaces that see them, that does not judge them, but put them on a path to long-term resilience. So what does that look like in the realm of Sanctuary of Hope? It looks like housing. It looks like life coaching. It looks like mentorship. It looks like crisis services. It looks like education and employment support. It looks like leadership and character development. It looks like community engagement. So really what we do is anything that it takes for a young person to stabilize and get on their feet, that is our approach. So it could be as simple as a conversation about how are you doing? How are you feeling today? Because sometimes that conversation could be an impetus to preventing suicide, right? Because I want to know you. I want to feel you. I want to have empathy for you, but I want you to know that we are that connection for you, with you. So we have programs throughout Los Angeles County. It's very interesting because I had a meeting with a funder 2 weeks ago, and one of the things that the funder pointed out to me was that I needed to stop making reference to Sanctuary of Hope in South LA, which was our humble beginning, because when they when they talked about it, when we were talking about our history and our growth, you know, from starting out in South LA to opening a center in the South Bay to being in the neighborhood housing services, the Center for Sustainable Communities in Compton, to opening up a new center in the Antelope Valley, the funder reflected on, you need to really start embracing that you are a county-wide agency, right? And that's what your work is. It expands far beyond kind of your geographical area that you've been so accustomed to many years, which made me reflect on three things. Or I should say, yeah, three things: faith, perseverance, and resiliency. When I started Sanctuary of Hope 13 years ago, it was really an act of faith. I literally walked away from a plush 6-figure job, and for those who know me and my past history, My background is in housing. My work started off in fair housing, where I used to investigate housing discrimination in the rental, sales, insurance, every aspect of housing, worked on major cases. Most of you know a lot of the prominent cases that I worked on that really centered on either redlining, sales, or just basic housing discrimination within LA County. And from there, kind of went into I hate using the word homeless services or how that industry, but basically within the homeless service industry, as well as affordable housing development, I actually began and started the affordable housing development arm of Path Ventures, actually created the shell of Path Partners, right, which is the overall umbrella that houses all of the Path entities under it. So my expertise really is around, it's really business focused. When I say real business focused, like really business focused. I've done 6 nonprofit mergers. I've started, I would say, several brand new nonprofits, not me started, but I provided the consulting for it. I used to do nonprofit consulting. I don't do it much anymore because I'm very honest. And if you're not willing to be honest about yourself and the work that you do and the passion that you purport that you want, I can't work with you. That's just me. I'm just being very honest. But circling back to Sanctuary of Hope was a lot of all of that business knowledge, business sense that I did and that I had for another nonprofit that I helped grow from a $700,000 organization to, by the time that I left, a $30 million organization. I figured I could do that same thing within my own community. So when I say it's a faith walk, right, I walked away from when I say plush job, very good pay, to start my own nonprofit, really working with young people who at the time that I felt were either ignored, right, or weren't receiving the best level of service that was culturally relevant for them. And that's why when I talk about Sanctuary of Hope as being culturally affirming, it's more than just the who and how you identify, but it's also the culture around you as well. And so I saw that niche, but I want to say that it was more than a niche, more so than it was a calling to do this within my own community where I live, work, worship, as well as educate. Arnetta Mack, she's not here today, but she has been with me since the beginning. From the time that I walked away from my job to finding out when I walked away from my job that I was working so much, I didn't know I was 6 months pregnant. That's how much I was working. To by the time I walked and didn't have health care after that, but that's a whole nother story. But that's another reason to know how God makes a way out of no way. But Arnetta, she's been with me since the beginning, and what I will say as it relates to that was when I had decided to start Sanctuary of Hope, I actually went to sleep, and as I went to sleep, I started seeing colors: red, yellow, black, hands, house, all these things. And I wrote it down on a little script, and then I sent it over to her, and I was like, this is what I saw in my dream. This is my color. I saw people, and that's all I did. I sent it to her. She came up with the logo, with what I seen, and the colors and all of that. And from the logo to submitting the nonprofit status, which normally it takes about, 6 months to a year. It all happened in less than 45 days. So everything started to begin like clockwork. In addition to that, one of the benefits, what I say of faith, perseverance, and resilience, because a lot of things when you're starting a nonprofit, especially when you're starting it for the first time and you're walking on faith, is knowing who is going to come along with you, right? And when I say come along, I mean people who are going to come when you don't have the money yet, people who are going to come and are going to support you in the vision, right? But also people who are going to come and work with you, because you need workers along with you and beside you. So as far as, the perseverance part of the work was, being able to work when you had very little dollars, right? And how do you make ends meet in order to meet and achieve the goal of helping young people stabilize? When we first started out, we were a mentoring agency. We worked with 10 young people a year, right? And this basically through mentorship, how do we help these young people, one, graduate from high school? How do we help young people deal with family conflict? How do we help with young people leave a trafficking life? So that was really the work that we did starting off. We went from work into housing young people. Most of the young people that we housed were child welfare impacted. And from housing, I mean, we went from small 6 beds to 47 units throughout Los Angeles, well, I should say throughout Los Angeles County, mainly in South LA and the South Bay, where we master lease units with landlords to house young people. And then from there, just grew into all the other resources that young people want and need. But a lot of it had to do with listening to young people and their voice. Because similarly, in any business realm or any business space, you need to go to your consumers and say, hey, what is it that you want? What's working? What's not working? What is it that you would want to change? Or what is it that you would like to see? And so we've done that with young people, and I can tell you literally every year we evolve, we change. Just to give you an example of that, in 2016, we did a focus group with young people. And basically, we met with a lot of the young males in our program. And one of the things that they said about Sanctuary of Hope was that we were too female heavy. They loved the nurturing environment, but we just wasn't it as a predominantly female organization. I mean, it was honest communication, and it really did matter. And they even complained about one of the rooms that was pink. They didn't like going into that room because the room was pink. And that we didn't create a space for them because the room was pink. You want us to have group in there, but it's a pink room. So you've already created a space that's more leaning towards females. And then one of the things is that we use data. We use data to look at the outcomes. And our outcomes showed that our young men, I mean, they weren't faring well. They either do this, and they do this, and they do this, and they do this. Compared to our females, they may do this, and go like that, right? And so what we did was take our young men again, put them in a focus group. But this time, we had a male run it, and we did it in partnership with a national nonprofit that provides technical assistance. And basically, they told us, we want Sanctuary of Hope to have more male staff. We want to have more male-focused programming. We want X, Y, and Z. And sure enough, between 2007 to, I would say, 2021, almost nearly, I wouldn't say half, but we've gotten close to 30% of our staff being male. And it's made a world of a difference as it relates to young men and their outcomes as far as completing high school, completing college, getting on their feet, being able to get a job. Because the reality is, there are some things that us women can't do. We want to be Superwoman, but even Kryptonite killed Superwoman, right? So don't want to do that. One of the other things is as a part of kind of the persistence part of it is, you know, like most businesses, SOH struggled. The first 3 years were the hardest 3 years. One, because you're new, you're starting up, and of course, you want to be able to enter into the game. You want to be that it person or that it nonprofit, and as a part of that means that you got to persevere and you got to be able to do things, whether it's being here at a chamber meeting, right? Networking, getting connected to money, getting connected to access to money, as well as other resources. It means, for me, I could tell you, I'm of Christian faith. That is my foundation. But I could tell you, a lot of times on the weekends when I have free time, I'm Buddhist, I'm Jewish, I'm Muslim, I'm a Christian, because I show up. And because I'm invited into those various spaces, I meet a lot of different people, many walks of faith. And all of those walks of faith have been key to helping Sanctuary of Hope sustain. Because what I realized is, for every young person that walks through our door, all of them are spiritual in some way, in fashion or another. But some of them are connected to the Christian faith. Some of them are connected to the Muslim faith. Some of them have even been connected to the Hindu faith. So it's being able to have a global connection with them, right? And having that global connection becomes very, very, very important. Also with that is understanding when and where you need to grow and glow. That's how I said, grow and glow. One of the things that I had discovered after our third year, which I tell everyone this, if you can make it past the third year, you're going to catapult. If you really have the determination and the persistence to do so. By the third year, when I recognized that, ooh, everybody's looking at us, because now we started getting these terms as thought leader in the youth space. And by the way, it's Children and Youth Month this month, so it's very befitting to have this conversation. But when we start getting the roles or the title thought leader or change maker and things of that nature, it was, how do you take all of these new terminologies that are being connected to you to not only glow, where you end up at those policy and decision-making tables, but grow, right? And that's what we did. We took time to really look at that. So after 3 years' time, we went from a zero to a $400,000 organization to a $600,000 organization to now we're at like 6.5 million, maybe close to 7, going forward. But a lot of times it's kind of being ready when, and I never chalk anything up to chance. I really chalk everything up to being faithful and being prepared, which goes into what I call resilience. You know, one of the things that we talk about at Sanctuary of Hope is how do we bolster young people's resilience. But when I think of resilience, it's not just the young people's resilience, it's community resilience too, right? Because if you have resilient young people, you still have to have a resilient community to which they're connected to. And so, you know, the resilience part of it has always been, how do you leverage and shepherd having people and partnerships with you along the way? And one for me has been Arnetta, which does all of our kind of PR, public relations. The other has been Pastor Kelvin Sauls, who has been with us for, I would say, a while. It's been a while. As far as the growth of Sanctuary of Hope and helping with our leadership and strategy and even connectedness. But it's also, when I think about the last part of this, is the resilience aspect of it, is really getting to understand what it really takes to be long-term and sustaining. Like for me, I'm preparing and working on a succession plan for the next 5 to 6 years, because my goal is to transition, but I want to be able to transition with Sanctuary of Hope in a good place, because I know that, you know, with Sanctuary of Hope, the brand has been me, but how do I move it past me to the logo, right? To the actual work that we do, but also at the same time shore up and strengthen all the things that make us successful, from our management to our risk management to our strategy, our visioning, all of those things. So with that being said, that's pretty much it. Faith, perseverance, resilience.